of the region. Let's head over to Europe now, and Russia has launched a massive overnight missile and drone assault on Ukraine, with the western city of Lutsk suffering its worst strike of the war. Explosions rocked Kyiv and several other cities just after midnight. Ukrainian air defences worked through the night to intercept drones and missiles. Lutsk came under especially heavy fire, with officials reporting over 50 drones and multiple missiles targeting the city. An industrial site and residential areas were also hit. At least one person was injured in Brovary near Kyiv. Fires were reported in other regions and other western parts of the country. Ukraine's Air Force says MiG-31 jets launched from Russia triggered hours-long air alerts across the country. Poland also scrambled fighter jets to protect its own airspace. This comes as President Trump pledged to send 10 Patriot missile systems to Ukraine. He also criticised President Putin for escalating the attacks. Well, joining us on the programme today, Glenn Grant, ex-advisor to the Ukrainian Defence Minister, joining us from Riga, Latvia. Glenn, thank you as always for joining us. There are a few bits for us to unpack here, but let's first look at the Russian strikes that have been reported, notably striking western regions of Ukraine, with areas around Kyiv also struck. How significant are strikes of this nature, not just within Ukraine, but also for the wider European security, with Poland scrambling jets because of the proximity to their border?
Yeah, well, the fact that Russia can actually now hit western Ukraine cities en masse should certainly cause great concern in the capitals of Romania, Poland, the Baltic states, because it shows that not only have they got sort of the volume that they can attack, but they've also got the reach to be able to go a long way. And in that, it is significant. It's also a change of tack, because recently it's been the eastern cities, Sumy, Zaporizhzhia and Kharkiv, that have taken most of the pounding, along with Kiev. So if this is a change of heart, you might say, on the Russian side, it's going to cause considerable concern, because Ukraine doesn't have enough air defense systems to cover everywhere.
Systems. We've heard overnight confirmation that Donald Trump has approved Patriot missile systems, defensive systems, to be sent to Ukraine. This, of course, after a pausing of some munitions supply from the North American country. How significant is this show of support from Donald Trump, and how significant will these Patriot systems be in fending off attacks like these from Russia, which seem to be intensifying and happening on a more regular basis?
Well, let's just be clear. Patriot systems means nothing unless there are Patriot missiles, because the system doesn't do anything on its own. It's merely the launcher. So what we're talking about is, the big question is how many missiles is Donald Trump actually going to send? Because Ukraine already has Patriot systems in many places. But they're of no use unless you've actually got the missiles to fire. And that is the problem at the moment, is that they simply don't have enough air defense missiles of any type from any of the systems to be able to stop these huge attacks with any success.
Yes, and that information I'm sure will come out soon. We've also had German Chancellor Friedrich Merz talk about potentially buying these munitions and handing them directly to Ukraine to avoid a lower stockpile for the US. But Glenn, I want to look at further comments that came from Donald Trump, specifically looking at Vladimir Putin. We've spoken multiple times on this show about US sort of support for Ukraine, but also condemnation and talk against Russia. We have a flip-flop from Donald Trump, often praising Vladimir Putin, and then on one side speaking about his disdain for the killings that are going on in Ukraine. But looking what he said overnight, he's spoken about sanctions. He said he's not happy with Vladimir Putin and his killing. Is this just Trump rhetoric, or do you think there is a clearer shift coming from the US administration towards this ongoing war?
That's a good question, because this is all part of the, you could call it the FSB playbook, which is to lie, and to buy time and to do things. And my instinct tends to lean towards that until proven otherwise. That I still think that you could say Donald Trump rhetoric, but let's see the evidence come out that he actually does something of strength, not just does something of public relations that doesn't actually have any effect on Russia at all. And you have to remember as well that the administration is very split, because there are members of the Republican Party and people in Senate and Congress who very much want to support Ukraine. But equally, there are people who don't want to support Ukraine, even many of those close to Trump, like Hesketh. And he tends to flip-flop depending upon the people who spoke to him last. So this may be something of value. Equally, it could be not.
Yes, and Glenn, very briefly before we move on, we've had reports from Russia of further advancements in eastern Ukraine, further cities and villages that are being encroached on. Can you just provide a brief bit of context about the feeling within Ukraine, given these intensified strikes and giving Russia reporting further advancements? Is there a feeling that this war is being lost, or is there still unity and fight at play?
More frustrated with the support from the West, and that grows all the time, and there's annoyance. You can actually see annoyance. And although people will say, thank you to America, you have to differentiate between the public of America and the public of Europe that are supporting Ukraine heavily, and sometimes in the leaders who are actually weak and not doing as much as they could do. That's on one side, and on the enemy moving forward, well, they are, but there's a lot of blame being attached to the President Zelensky and to his chosen leader Syrskyi, on the grounds that these people are actually not doing the job that they should be doing, and are not supporting the armed forces in the way that they should be. So I think there's a lot of frustration building up. It would be the best that I could say.
Glenn, thank you for providing that context and answering those questions. You will be staying with us as we remain in Europe. And French President Emmanuel Macron has attended a dinner with the British royal family